It appears that the banking crisis is not over as New York Bancorp has plummeted. Contagion appears to be spreading, but amidst the chaos, Bitcoin has responded, of course, pumping to 45K today. Maybe it also has something to do with Jerome Powell going on 60 Minutes and shilling Bitcoin to the world. Probably a factor, but we got a lot to cover. Let's get it.
You seem confident in the banks, and yet the Silicon Valley Bank, second largest failure in U.S. history. Did the Fed miss that?
So, yes, we did. We forthrightly saw that we needed to do better. So we've spent a lot of time working on ways to make supervision more effective, and also to adapt regulation to a modern context in which a bank run can happen so much faster than it could have even 20 years ago.
Because since the end of January, NYCB, their stock is down 6% in the pre-market. Lisa, we're talking about cutting in half, more than cutting in half the market cap of this bank in just about a week.
Downgraded to junk.
Yeah, so much for the banking system being strong and resilient as we are now like headlong into a regional banking crisis. New York Community Bancorp went off a cliff. And here from Just Dario, Mr. Market is telling us the value of SoftBank, excluding ARM, is now approximately 20 billion USD. Negative. Banking crisis is part of it, but the national debt is another crisis. So Jerome Powell, we are on an unsustainable path. What do we do?
It's a sharp increase in the national debt. 30 years from now, it is projected to be $144 trillion. How do you assess the national debt?
We mostly try very hard not to comment on fiscal policy and instruct Congress on how to do their job when actually they have oversight over us.
But is the national debt a danger to the economy, in your view?
In the long run, the U.S. is on an unsustainable fiscal path. The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal path, and that just means that the debt is growing faster than the economy.
I have the sense this worries you very much.
Over the long run, of course it does. We're borrowing from future generations. It's time for us to get back to putting a priority on fiscal sustainability. And sooner is better than later.
Yeah, they definitely don't have the answers and haven't before. We got a record 8.9 trillion in government debt maturing over just the next year. You got to start asking yourself, what's with all these, people leaving, resigning from banks, massive layoffs, people cutting all these things? Why is Mark Zuckerberg dumping another 134 million of his own company's stock on the market to unsuspecting bag holders? Questions we gotta ask. Maybe it has something to do with this. In just one chart, this. The global debt rose to a new record high in 2023. Does that say 224 trillion? And again, we know things are not looking good in China. Evergrande contagion spreading there. That will also spill over here. But that's 500 billion. We have 2.6 trillion in commercial real estate exposure here. But we have ICBC chairman Chen Siqing suddenly resigns. And there was a massive sell-off in Chinese stocks. Probably nothing.
The value of commercial office buildings all across the country is dropping as people work from home. Those buildings support the balance sheets of banks all across the country. What is the likelihood of another real estate-led banking crisis?
I don't think that's likely. We looked at the larger banks' balance sheets, and it appears to be a manageable problem. There's some smaller and regional banks that have concentrated exposures in these areas that are challenged. And, we're working with them.
You believe it's a manageable problem?
I think it appears to be. We're
not going to see bank failures across the country as we did in 2008.
I don't think there's much risk of a repeat of 2008. Certainly, there will be some banks that have to be closed or merged out of existence because of this. That'll be smaller banks, I suspect, for the most part.
James Lavish, is the national debt a danger to the economy? Fed chairman, of course, he agrees that it's a problem in the long term, but as Lavish said, maybe not as long as he thinks. Hyperinflation and these type of scenarios, Weimar scenarios, always said it's like a crack in a vase. And then over years and time, the pressure builds up and the cracks spider web, and then the vase crumbles under the weight of its own pressure. And it feels like we're getting closer to that point here. But despite all this madness everywhere, globally, regional banks failing, geopolitical tensions, conflicts all over the world, Bitcoin just pumped to 45K today. And I'm starting to reinforce and agree with Samson Mao. Everything under $1 million Bitcoin price is just a rounding error. Fidelity just said in a conservative allocation should be 2.5% to Bitcoin. Conservative. The monkey see, monkey do. That's how these things work. And another thing, with that massive US debt, banks failing, this is how Bitcoin performs. Money printer has to go burr. Bitcoin denominated in long duration US bonds? Well, it looks like we're about to have a breakout. Why is that? Why does that matter? Well, it looks like a record 10 trillion in US treasuries are coming to market in 2024. What does that mean for Bitcoin? We're going to the moon. And yeah, like former President Obama said, you know, if you want to protect yourself from all this stuff, and like Kathy and Larry Fink, you need to fly to quality. To flee to quality away from this trash, lead to Bitcoin. And yeah, it's the most secure thing on the planet.
The question we now have to ask is if technologically it is possible to make an impenetrable device or system where the encryption is so strong that there's no key, there's no door at all. What mechanisms do we have available to even do simple things like tax enforcement? Because if in fact you can't crack that at all, government can't get in, then everybody's walking around with a Swiss bank account in their pocket.
Banks, damp. Money printer going burr. ETFs are gobbling up Bitcoin. Hash rate is hitting record highs and Bitcoin is starting to break out. Are you bullish yet, Anon? All of this is flowing into the halving on 420. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Get that incense lit. We're about to blast off. That's right. There's a lot of reasons that we need to be stacking like there's no tomorrow. Shout out to the legend, R.I.P.
What's the matter with you?
Tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
BlackRock and Fidelity already now hold $6.4 billion worth of Bitcoin. We're just getting started. They have amassed that in a very short amount of time, and this is why you can expect the Bitcoin mother of all supply shocks in 2024. Yes, mo ass in 2024. You can get some now. Stack those sats, baby. But yes, in this short time since they've been in existence, the Bitcoin ETF, aside from GBTC, now hold more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy. Just getting started. And there's already not that much Bitcoin on exchanges. The halving is coming and the demand is not going anywhere. Guys, everything's just like too bullish, incredibly bullish. Like we said, $1 million Bitcoin may not be that far away. And man, the times are a-changing. Satoshi appears in Times Square. Pretty awesome and prophetic for the Genesis block to be projected in Times Square amidst these banking failures. And also for Bitcoin to pump in hash rate and price amidst all of it. With all this going on, you need to make sure you got your Bitcoin off exchanges and into self-custody. That is the revolution. And if you need help with any of that, we got just the guys to get you covered. Simply Bitcoin Originals are powered by the Bitcoin Way. Your IT team in the Bitcoin world need help with wallets and nodes, inheritance planning, accepting Bitcoin payments, and more. Hey, looking to get started? You can schedule a free 30-minute call using that link below. Guys, Bitcoin is the flight to quality, as Larry Fink, Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood, the growing consensus, and we can see it in the behavior of investors right now. Bitcoin is the safe haven. And as far as price runs, today is just the start of something that will be completely massive. There are so many things at play. To dive into the supply shock and how Bitcoin could hit that $1 million mark a lot sooner than many may think. Check these out. Hey, be sure to like, subscribe, share that Sound Money Gospel. Follow us on Twitter for all the latest breaking news. Keep tuning in to Simply Bitcoin, your #1 stop for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.